Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Gardening. And in this episode, we will look at some metal container basics in the garden. So metal containers are widely used as planters in many landscapes due to its aesthetic appeal, and one can use them in the garden if certain do's and don'ts are followed. Towards the end, I will be planting up a metal container to show you how it is all done. So the first thing is exposure to sunlight. It is advisable you use metal containers in shade gardens and not in full sun, because in extreme heat, the metal containers can act like a furnace and burn plant parts that are in contact with the metal surface. The soil can dry out more quickly due to accelerated heating and in general stress out the plant. Drainage holes. It is very important to have as many drainage holes as possible because the metal surface is non-porous and there is no scope for water to evaporate through their surfaces, and the only way excess water would drain out will be the drainage holes. So ensure you create holes at the bottom, and if you have such containers with an elevated bottom, then the water would easily drain out, or simply place it on top of a metal stand like this so that it isn't flush with the flow. Hard water. If you get hard water, it is better you don't grow plants in metal containers since hard water is rich in minerals like calcium and magnesium that react with metal and accelerates corrosion and results in mineral deposits that can burn the plant. Some sensitive plants can even die due to this chemical reaction over time. Use soft water if you can, and you can see the effect of hard water in this container. The bottom part where the water concentrates has turned green. Also, sometimes I see salt deposits around the periphery like in this container. But since this houses a snake plant, I'm not too worried. It used to have the centipede plant and that died, and the syngoniums were not doing so well. So I had to rethink on what plant goes into this, and the snake plant was the perfect fit. So use soft water, rainwater or distilled water for your metal planters. Potting mix. Since drainage is crucial in metal containers, it is better you use a well-draining mix of 50% sand, 30% compost or well-composted coco peat and 20% garden soil. Plant selection. Choose plants that are hardy and not very sensitive to rot. Some succulents are great if you get the watering right. Ferns, begonias, snake plants, ZZs are few plants that can do well in such containers. Now, you can also use metal planters without holes for potted plants by simply placing them inside just like this. This way, you can avoid corrosion to an extent by just throwing away the collected water, but ensure that the existing plant pots are 1 or 2 sizes smaller than the metal reservoir. Metal types. So you can use different metal types like aluminium, galvanized steel, powder-coated metal containers and such. Powder-coated ones don't rust very easily. Powder-coated ones are quite resistant to rusting in most cases, that is if you don't use hard water. And aluminium does not rust but can corrode over time. Now, let us look at how to make holes. So to make holes in metal, it is easier if you do it with an electric drilling machine. You actually don't have to go all the way in to create holes. Just drill in such a way that you create a trough and then use a hammer and a nail to bring out the holes. Here I've created 3 holes. While drilling, please note that the metal surface in touch with the driller will heat up, so that is why I've given you an easier option to use a nail and the hammer to make your job easy and safe. Please wear eye gears for safety. So here I have this aluminium container that mom did not want in the kitchen anymore, so she gave it to me. And let's see how we can plant up this metal container. So while choosing a plant, you need to be a little more careful. You cannot choose very sensitive plants like these caladiums. And then I also have the polka dot plant over there. I don't think I can choose that. I have the calathea. And definitely not something like the azalea, because the azaleas are very pH sensitive. So I'm going to leave it as is. So you can choose something like the Dracaena as well. But here, since it is a little tall and needs a taller container, I'm just going to spare this for now. So I'm kind of searching for what I can choose. Begonias are a great bet. So begonias are good. So I'll be using that. So for the potting mix, I'm going to use sand.
Then I'm also going to use a little bit of compost, and then you can also use garden soil. And you must always mix your potting mix. So now you can add the potting mix layer by layer. And for the plant, I'm choosing this begonia. So begonias do really well. So this is one of the reasons. And it is also a shade loving plant. So these are the two reasons that I've chosen the begonia. And then apart from the begonia, I will also be using this Plectranthus prostratus. So both of these plants are not very sensitive, they are shade tolerant, and that is why I've chosen these two. And anyway, this is a very small container, so I'm not going to fill it up too much, and I will give these plants their breathing space. So I filled the potting mix 2-3 inches below the rim. So now we can start replanting. So I'll be placing this begonia in the center. So somewhere in the center, not the exact center. And then I'm just going to use this Plectranthus here. So for the Plectranthus, what I can do is I can fill it up a little more. That is, I can fill up the container a little more with potting mix, and then I will add this. So once this is filled almost till the brim, you can add the Plectranthus prostratus. So you can add any plant that you want, but then make sure that they're not very sensitive and they're not very easy to kill. So that's the only criteria. Otherwise, any plant will do well. And as much as you can, avoid hard water, use soft water. So that's it, we're done. So now the only thing that we have to do is add a little bit of extra soil. If you see bald spots, okay, we don't want the settlement of the soil to happen. Okay, so how much ever you can, fill the gaps. Okay, and then you just have to water this arrangement. Wait patiently for this to brim and look gorgeous. So now I'm going to water this with seaweed solution so that it gets a very good start. And I'm using this upcycled oil can for this purpose. So add water until you see the water oozing out from the bottom. Keep this in a shady location, and that's it.
And with this, we've come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Gardening, and I really hope you enjoyed this particular episode. Additionally, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are given below. And always remember, to grow slow is to grow well. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.